I think from a non-expert perspective, it seems like there's a lot of kind of small modular reactor companies and technologies. Like, how do you think about the whole landscape? Uh, how many people are like as far along as you? Like, give us like a quick kind of landscape overview.
Yeah, there's definitely quite a few companies in nuclear, especially in the past 3 or 4 years. A lot of new ones have started up. I think if you first of all take a step back and ask yourself why that is, there's kind of been this groundswell in support across all these different dimensions. So, public support for nuclear is at all-time highs, investor support, government support, and probably most importantly, customer support. Actually having customers like these hyperscalers who want uh, possibly like 30 or 40 gigawatts worth of these small nuclear reactors to power their data centers. All this is kind of aligning, and that's kind of, I think, why you see a lot of new companies getting started. But then there's also a good number that have been around for 5, 10, 15 years. And part of that is that there was a challenging time in the early kind of 2010s after Fukushima where nuclear fell out of favor for a bit. It was harder to make rapid progress. But yeah, at a high level, you've got different types of nuclear companies. You've got some going after data centers, some going after remote diesel, some going with much larger plants, some going with much smaller plants. There's kind of a lot of competing kind of different ideas and concepts for what the best solution is here. But what we believe at Aalo is there's kind of this economic sweet spot, somewhere between 10 and 100 megawatts on a reactor basis, where you're going to get this kind of nice balance between economy of numbers and economy of scale. And what we've seen is that even though we've been building a lot of gigawatt scale nuclear plants in the West, that's not necessarily the optimal way to do it. And we're kind of seeing this because there's actually 8 utilities that have approved licenses to build these large plants, and they're choosing not to. So it's not really like there's some kind of regulatory blocker here or something. And the reason they're choosing not to is actually because of a fear of cost and schedule overrun, because we've just lost the muscle of building these large plants in the West.
I thought it is like even in the development phase. I mean, you say they've got approval, but even the development phase is like the reason it's slow is because of regulatory issues, right? Or you're saying like, hey, it's just like we just don't know how to build these things fast anymore.
It's really more the latter. I mean, yes, the regulator could be more efficient. That's definitely true. There's room for improvement there, and that's a big part of why we've been taking kind of a two-pronged, like parallel regulatory path approach. So, at all, one more thing that makes us unique, I'll try to answer your question by interweaving these kind of different factoids throughout the whole thing. It's a deep topic, but yeah, we're doing DOE authorization for our first plant, not NRC for the first one. And so that's another kind of factor there is our team. So
Like that means you're selling to the government directly? Is that what that means? Or what does it mean?
no, so it just means we're building on non-civilian soil. That's kind of the distinction for DOE versus NRC. So if you're doing like a government lab or a military site, you can do DOE authorization, and civilian is NRC.
And you use faster?
Yeah, DOE is faster. Um, but yeah, the key thing that I was going to say before is just around um, you know this whole idea of a mass manufacturing smaller reactors being better than doing kind of bespoke one-off large reactors. This is not really a consensus view. Like some people in the industry think that it's better to do these large reactors. And really, the reality is like this has never been done before, like a factory to mass produce nuclear reactors. And, our whole thesis on why it's not been done before is because we think there hasn't been the right type of customer. Right. So if you think about, the demand in the past 70 years, it's been a city here, a city there, maybe a one-off, gigawatt scale plant. But right now, like these data centers, they have the demand equivalent of 30 to 40 new cities within like a 5 or 10 year time frame. And so that's the one thing is the level of demand. Two is that they also have this really high willingness to pay because these electrons are more valuable to them. So that's like this amazing killer combo to help actually get this factory set up, because then you can come down the cost curve as you do the first of a kind to nth of a kind. And once you get it set up, you can then go after so many other markets because data centers are only 1% of power globally, 4% in the US. And there's just so much else to go after once you get the factory set up and kind of prove the predictability on cost and timeline.